Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy, know y'all with me, let's get it, baby, Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy, know you with me, let's get it, baby. Boys just came back from their mission, we going crazy.
Welcome back to another edition of the Cougar Beat podcast, signing day edition. It's the early signing day as we're making our long trip up and down the Wasatch Front, trying to collect roughly about 24 BYU signees in this early signing period, and more coming because recruiting never stops, and in the era of the transfer portal, it stops even less. And so for my latest one, I'm here in South Utah County at Springville High School, where a latecomer to the party, I shall say, just barely made his announcement as part of the recruiting class of 2024, Kinilau Fonohema from Springville High School. Kenny, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining me for a couple of minutes to talk about your decision.
I'm good. The hard decision, it took a long time, but I'm happy with what I decided.
Let's walk through a little bit. Let's just kind of go through just what are some of your emotions on this early signing day now that the recruiting process is over. You sent in the facts. You've made your decision public. You're officially going to be joining a couple of former teammates of yours in Provo. We'll get to that in a minute. But what are just kind of some of your emotions as the process is finally over, I guess?
It's a huge relief. I'm glad that it's finally all over. I'm just eager to get started with BYU.
So let's go there. So you're going to enroll as part of the class of 2024. Defensive end, outside linebacker. I just call you guys edge rushers a little bit because I don't really know exactly where you're going to fit in if you're a down lineman or just a straight up pass rusher. So an edge rusher. You're coming off of the edge. You had a lot of sacks this past year, so I gotta imagine the coaching staff wants you to be there as well. What stood out about the Cougars? What did you kind of like about that staff, the environment, the university, the city of Provo, all that? What kind of stood out to you?
I like how bright their future looks. They have a lot of potential to be a great school, and I think the new defensive staff really helped out with that, along with working on a new offensive staff. I think BYU will just be great.
You mentioned a new defensive staff, obviously going into his second year as defensive coordinator. What stood out to you about Jay Hill and just kind of his style and what you were able to see maybe of him as a defensive coordinator this past year, and what kind of impressed you, I guess, as he was recruiting you some?
He was super straightforward. I love the way that he works and that he is just super straightforward. He knows what he's talking about, and he's had a lot of experience, and I love him.
I mentioned it before, but you're signing with a couple of classmates. Luke Nadal, the safety, he's going on a mission first, so say your goodbyes now, I guess. And then Dallin Johnson, he'll be enrolling with you, another defensive lineman, defensive tackle, a whole lot of meat. Dallin, a whole lot of meat Johnson, I like to call him, because he is a big, big boy. Is that a little bit more special, committing to the same school as a bunch of teammates, a bunch of brothers, a bunch of family members for the past few years? Does that kind of make the decision just feel a little bit different, I guess, in some ways?
Yeah, I'll be playing with my former teammates, which will just be like an extension of playing at Springville High School, because they're like my family, and I can't wait to play with them.
What do you like about playing specifically? Let's start with Dallin. What do you like specifically about playing with Dallin?
He's super serious. He's a little too serious sometimes, and
doesn't have much of a sense of humor.
Not really during the game time, no. I've seen him laugh probably one time the whole entire life I've been playing with him.
What about gameplay? How do you two kind of play off of each other? Because I call him a whole lot of meat because he's just a big hunk of mass, whether he's on the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, he's committing as a defensive lineman, but he's a lot of mass in the middle of that D line. Do you like playing off of guys like that who can just sort of hold their blocks and then you just come in off the edge and wreak your havoc?
I do love playing with people like that. He kind of pushes the quarterback out to me, so he gets mad at me for stealing sacks from him. But yeah, he's a great gap blocker and just a great player.
What about Luke Nadal? He's also committing with you guys tonight. Like I said, he's going on a mission first, but he'll be back before you guys can go to the NFL, so you'll get at least 1 year with him. What do you like about playing with Luke, and what kind of stands out to you about him?
He's a great safety, DB, whatever they're going to put him at, and he stops the pass. He also gives me more time to get sacks, so I just love him.
Anybody that gives you more time to get sacks, I'm sensing a little bit of a theme here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys are going to reunite with a former teammate of yours as well, Ryder Byrne. He was a freshman quarterback, obviously, at BYU. He was your starter last year during your run to the state championship. Are you excited to see him and maybe give him a little extra nudge in practice?
I am excited. I hope he plays this year. He's had a lot of training. He's the most obsessed player I've ever known.
Yeah, for sure. Obsessed is a really good way to describe Ryder, I think. Probably a nice way. We'll leave it at the nice words.
Yeah.
Too, for sure. He's a very obsessive player as well. What are kind of your plans, I guess, from here now that the recruiting process is over, the fax machine is hummed, you sent in your letter, that kind of thing. What's sort of the rest of the year playing out? Are you thinking about enrolling early, or are you going to just sort of enjoy the rest of your senior year here?
I'm going to enroll in May after I graduate.
Okay.
I'm going to finish out my wrestling season, and then, just pray that I play.
You wrestle this year, too. I knew you used to wrestle. I didn't know you still wrestle. What weight class are you?
I'm 215.
Okay. So you're also a little bit of a wrestler. I like asking this of guys because I'm a former wrestler. I wasn't nearly as good of a football player as you, but I've wrestled a little bit as well. What is it about the crossover between those two sports, between wrestling and football, that seems like football players that wrestle are better football players because of it in a lot of ways, if that makes sense. Like, what is it about those two sports that kind of crosses over so well?
It gives them a lot of leverage, and overall just makes them a more mentally tough person.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But you're a football first guy, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Well, Kenny, I'll let you get going, but I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to talk with me, and congrats on your decision, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You two kind of bonded through football in a lot of ways, too, even despite some of your health limitations and that kind of thing. Yeah. Your wife was telling me about before his first, she embarrassed you a little bit, not too bad, but before his first varsity game, he had never played center before.
Oh, yeah.
And you took him out of the backyard until the sun was going down and just started snapping with him, taking him out there. Like, so has football kind of helped that relationship, I guess?
Oh, yeah. I hated it. He hated it. In the little league team, third, fourth grade, I could not tell him, Dallin, this is a football. Nuh-uh. There was another coach that had a kid on his team the same way.
Really?
We looked at each other, and Clay said, I'll take care of Dallin, you take care of Jackson. And from then on out, like, we didn't coach our own kids because I could tell them, hey, do it this way. He'd be like, Dad, you know what you're talking about. Somebody else comes and says, hey, Dallin, do it this way, just like I had said. And they're, I'm like, okay, done. Yeah. So, but it took a couple years. That's just part of being a little kid. But it was, I got to spend a lot of time with him. And I remember it was 6th grade was the first time I realized he lined up at offensive guard. We didn't have enough kids to run a defense, so I was standing there as a D tackle, and we were just doing a walkthrough. And the ball was snapped. I went to walk through the hole. He just took his hand and hit it on my chest. He was 12 years old.
Yeah.
It knocked me back, and I thought, there's something behind that, like this.
Yeah.
And then that was in Spanish Fork because in Springville they couldn't play tackle until they were like 5th grade. And so once we came to Springville, Mike Valletti, who's the Springville's Dave Valletti's little brother, the head coach for the high varsity team, Mike coached Little League. He coaches a couple teams a year. I mean, him and George. And I ran into Mike on a job site. I worked for Questar Gas.
Okay.
He dug holes. He worked for Landmark Excavation. And he goes, hey. I started talking to him, and I said something about Dallin. He goes, you have a kid that lives in Springville, plays football? I said, yeah, but he plays in Spanish because Springville wouldn't let him play. And he kind of got established on a team over there. And he goes, "Are you Dallin's dad?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know Dallin?" He goes, "Everybody knows Dallin."
Everybody knows.
And this is 6th grade. And I'm going, "What are you talking?" He goes, and we were in different leagues at the time.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What day do you guys play?" And I said, "We play on Tuesdays." He goes, "Great, we play Saturdays. We'll see you Saturday." He was on our team. And we showed up to the first
2 leagues. We play on different days, so why not?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Mike, the first practice we went to, there was Mike's boy was our running back this year, an absolute monster, stud running back. And nobody, Bita,
Yeah.
nobody in tackling drills nobody could knock Bita back or tackle him. And Dallin lined up with him first thing and, took Bita out. And Mike looked at me, he goes, "He's an All-American." And I said, "Well, let's pump the brakes a little bit, Mike. He's a big kid. Bye, guys." And but Mike since day one of knowing Dallin has been like, that's my white son.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten really close with them and the whole Valetti family. Mike and George coached Dallin 6th, 7th, 8th.
Yep.
And then 9th grade he went to varsity, and then he was with Dave and
Jackson.
Yeah.
But the whole Valetti family, they're so vital to the culture of football here in Springville. So
I see. Well, and you're talking about this entire village that helped raise Dallin in so many ways. You mentioned it up here and everything, and all of that, and the way that they've all kind of come together for Dallin to sort of help him grow in football and life. And then obviously with his homebodiness, I guess that's the word we'll use.
Sure.
The homebodiness, the closest to the family. Was that scholarship offer from BYU way back when you were like 12 years old? I think you were like 14 or 15.
Yeah,
14.
Was that scholarship offer at the school just literally 10 miles down the road? Was that almost just like just a godsend, just an absolute blessing? Just for all of those reasons, I guess?
Yeah. There's no other place that I think I could thrive at like I could at BYU.
Yeah.
Being close to home is huge. I love my family. I love Springville with my whole heart. The coaching staff is unparalleled. So yeah, I don't think there's another place that I could thrive like I can at BYU.
When you were that freshman snapping the ball to your dad on your lawn, just scared to play varsity football, could you have imagined playing at LaVelle Edwards Stadium in front of him?
No. Like I said, when I was younger, it was always in my dream. And then I got to, high school, and I'm looking and I'm seeing all these kids, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get a scholarship to Snow. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll go to Snow. There's some amazing players out here. And then, kind of just jumped headfirst into it and figured it out as I went, and it ended up working out.
Yeah. Your dad embarrassed himself a little bit in front of the entire village while he was right before you signed here and everything. So I'm going to embarrass you on his behalf a little bit.
Okay.
What's your dad meant to you growing up? I mean, from the snapping the ball to him to the look on his face as you signed with BYU, all of that. What's he meant to you here?
Everything. He's my hero. To be as involved as he is, with everything he's going through, and to not give up, and to be here day in and day out, never missed a game. There's been some really hard days. Everything.
It seems like behind a really big, strong Division I football player, there's an even better family. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, not even close. My family's so much more than anything I have.
Don't downplay the role that mom in football. I've had to remind her that we're sitting around neighbors at games when plays don't go the way they should. She is as adamant a football fan as you will find.
The most competitive person in the stand.
Oh yeah.
Well, so mom's story now. 8th grade, they got in a fight down in Mesquite at a football tournament. The cop showed up, and it was a big one. I got it on film. It was a big one. The cops show up, and I'm talking to the cop, and there's these two moms from the other team, and they're chirping about, and the other team started it. We got it on video. And these moms they're dirty. They started it. And I look, and Lindsay is trying to fight through 4 people to get a hold of these moms. And I'm like, sweetheart, you can't. The cops are right here. And then I look, and she's circling around the backside of the cops to go get a hold of these moms. So football and
It's amazing.
And but yeah, it's been just our family thing. We love it, and we're lucky that Dallin and then our other 3 boys. Keep your eye open.
Yeah.
They'll be. Dave, since they were little, said, "I love Dallin. Dallin's amazing. He's a one generational kid." I like Cam.
He's almost as big as Dallin.
I know.
Too, and he's
Yep.
3 years younger.
And they're completely different. They play the same positions. And Vic Unga watched Cade and Dallin, and he said, Trent, he goes, they are the same. They do the same job, but one of them's Dallin's a sledgehammer and Cade's a scalpel. I don't know that Cade will ever have the just raw, I'm going to pick you up and move you and you don't have a choice that Dallin has. But Cade will he will set you up. He's crafty. So it's in this last ball game, even though it was only 4 games, 3.5 games, to watch them play side by side.
Yeah. For sure.
Pretty amazing. So it was awesome.
Now, last question I wanted to ask you, and then I'll let you guys go away. I really appreciate you guys talking to me for a few minutes. I really do. But now that we've embarrassed you with your family and everything else, what does it mean to be able to sign to play at BYU? Not just you, but with 2 of your teammates, joining another one from last year in Ryder. Does that make it a little bit more special, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so much. Like I said, it's such a strong sense of community here in Springville. Like the phrase, it takes a village. I think Springville is, the definition of a village. And so it's so huge, to be able to stick close with kids that are pretty much family to you, and give Springville something to be proud of, hopefully.
Stands with the fans. If you with us, raise your hands. Rock up by baby, rockin' Navy. Shout out to my teams, wives and babies. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me. Let's get it, baby. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me. Let's get it, baby. We going long like a cougar tail. Defense hitting hard like some seashells. Get into the green. I ain't talking kale. Where that team up north, man, but